The power of our voice. How can I communicate better to be successful is the question that we're going to answer in this episode. And you're going to understand the 3 ways for effective communication and the power of tonality when you are talking to others, and why voicemail is probably better than email or texting if you want to communicate true feeling. I'm Doug Andrew, and I've learned some very powerful concepts from various mentors in my life. And I think it was Marshall Thurber who originally taught me the power of effective communication. And he taught, and I later researched this is true, that 55% of effective communication is body language. See, it's when we're talking and we use body language that people understand better what we're trying to communicate with body language. 38% is the tone. See, tonality, when we talk and I ask people, what are the most important assets that you value, that you cherish, that you possess on this earth? See, when I say it in that tone, my audiences know that I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about relationships, your health, your faith. And so tonality makes up 38% of effective communication. Body language is 55%. That only leaves 7% remaining. That's the actual words that we use. Now, words are powerful, but it's how you say the words that makes all the difference in effective communication. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we are turning more and more to texting and email. I can't tell you how many times I have sent an email message or a text message. All of a sudden, the person I emailed to or texted, it doesn't reply. A few weeks later, I see them and they're like upset or angry at me. And I go, ooh, did I say something? Well, you sent that email and you said this. And I go, oh my heavens. And they repeat what I text them or the email. And it's in totally a different tone than I sent them the email. And I said, oh no, I meant this way. And then I say it with the right tonality and they go, oh, I didn't read it that way. It's because you don't know what they're going through that day in that moment when you send them a text. So even though it's efficient to send an email or a text, I prefer not to do that. I would rather leave a voicemail. That's why whenever I am communicating something very, very important, I would rather leave a voicemail message. I don't even like those programs that transcribe my voicemail into a text message. I want them to listen to my tonality when I say what I'm going to say. One of my favorite t-shirts is one that says across the top, commas save lives. And then it shows an example. Let's eat grandma. Or let's eat, comma, grandma. Okay, totally different meanings, okay? Let's eat grandma or let's eat grandma. It's all in the tonality. You can use tone sometimes in totally different ways, and it has a whole new meaning in the English language or any language for that matter. So let me give you another example. Let's use the sentence, I didn't say she took that money. So I'm going to change the emphasis on every word here. I didn't say she took the money. 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 See, every word I can change the emphasis and it has a totally different meaning. That's the power of tonality. But while I was doing that exercise, you saw I was using some body language also. So that's why it's so critical. So what does this all mean? My wife and I, we've been happily married for 47 years this coming February. After about 20 years of marriage, I finally began to understand in order to effectively communicate with my sweetheart, I needed to understand that there were certain types of environments and different ways. And it wasn't until we did an exercise and we filled out a little card that my coach gave us. I answered, how do I like to give communication? And how do I like to receive communication? What kind of environment? Do I want detail or just, cut to the chase? Give me the bottom line. Once I answered that, all of a sudden my wife and also my staff began to realize I would rather actually send a voicemail because I want them to hear my tonality. I can spit it out pretty fast. But in actuality, if I'm in a hurry, I would rather receive something in a text or an email because I can scan down, and then if I see something that's really critical, I can listen to the voice version. But see, I like to receive email, I like to send voicemail. But see, if I send a voicemail, people assume I like to receive voicemail. Wrong. I have not checked my voicemail in probably 3 years. The light's been blinking on my phone. I check my voicemail on my cell phone maybe once a month because I don't have time to listen through all of that. I want to glance through it. Once my wife understood that little phenomenon right there, I would rather receive a text or an email first to see if it's urgent, but I would rather leave a voicemail. But don't leave me a voicemail unless it's super critical or important that I need to hear the tonality. Does that make sense? What about the environment? I would come home from working all day long, talking adult talk with clients, and I couldn't wait to get home and just be quiet. Now, my wife, raising 6 children, she's talking kids talk all day long. She can't wait for an adult conversation when I get home. I just want to come home and be quiet. I would rather just relax. She wants to stay up till midnight and talk. I want to go to bed. I want to get up at 6 in the morning and let's go for a little jog and let's talk at 6 in the morning. I don't want to stay up at midnight and talk. It took us about 25, 30 years to figure that one out. But here's the big one. When I started talking to my wife and she would share with me her frustrations with maybe one of her brothers or her mother, I thought she wanted me to fix it. She would start telling me and I would interrupt and I'd try to fix it. No, she doesn't want me to fix it. She just wants me to listen. She just wants me to listen to her and say, oh, honey, no wonder you've had a rough day and so forth. That meant more to her than anything. But if I started to butt in and try to fix it by telling her what she should do, that irritated her. Now we're even more happily married because I know when to communicate with my wife, in what ways, and instead of trying to fix it, I'm just listening, I'm a sounding board, I'm empathetic, and life is great. And I mean, how many couples does it take sometimes 20 and 30 and 40 years to understand this concept of effective communication with somebody you're living with your entire life? So you've probably heard that our Creator gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, to do twice as much listening as talking. I remember teaching this concept at a couples retreat. And on the front row was this couple that had been happily married for about 35 years. The exercise was planning a couples retreat or a vacation. And they lived in California. And she was saying to him, no wonder you have not understood me for 35 years. I have told you a bazillion times. Now, I think she was exaggerating a little bit. I want to go to Yosemite. We live in California. We've never been to Yosemite. I want to go to Yosemite. He goes, Yosemite? Yeah. She goes, yeah, you keep taking me to Maui. Now, there's a lot of women that would love to go to Maui. And he would take her to Maui 3 times a year. Anyway, I thought he was listening, and they planned their trip to Yosemite. About 5 years later, I ran into this couple, and his name was Bill. I said, Bill, I've been wondering for 5 years, how was your couple's retreat to Yosemite? He goes, Yosemite? And his wife was there. She goes, yeah, he's taking me to Maui 15 more times. He forgot I wanted to go to Yosemite. You need to listen when you're communicating twice as much as talking. What he wanted and what she wanted were 2 different things. So listen to the other individual and assess and then respond. But effective communication starts out with understanding and listening and then using effective body language, tonality. The words are the least part of what you're saying. It's like Zig Ziglar used to say, if you tell your girlfriend you've got a face that'll stop a clock, that's not very nice or romantic. But you can say basically the same thing, honey. When I look in your eyes, the wheels of time stand still. Same basic message, but the second one scores points. The other one makes enemies. Does that make sense? So use effective communication to empower those people you care about. I would recommend you pick up a copy of Entitlement Abolition. You think, what does that have to do with it? In this book, I talk about several concepts, exercises that you can do like this on couples retreats or family vacations with a purpose. And when you read this book, you'll sort of understand some of these things that can help you overcome some of those barriers that keep couples from being as close as they can be. You can get a free copy by going to entitlementabolitionbook.com, pay $5.95 shipping and handling, and I'll fire a copy out to you.